Because when we look at it, you say, well, 2 out of the 4 prohibitions have justifiably been removed from prohibition and have come back to sanity. Because remember, there's the 4. Just look at them. The prohibitions were no alcohol. Oh, immoral. No gambling. Oh, evil gambling, evil. No drugs. Oh, no. Another aspect of intoxication. No. And the 4th one, prostitution. No, you can't have sex. You can't sex. Oh, no. Sex, Because all these 4, look where they came from. The prohibitions come from. They came from religion. Dumbass, Dark Ages repression. Denial of human fact. Humans like sex. Humans like some amount of intoxication. And humans like some amount of gambling. So what? But with the idea of the religious aspect, making it immoral, it's just, Then they get the force to try and pressure legislation attitude to make their ignorant morality crap into legislation. And by having it as legislation of prohibition, it justified police state terrorism against you. And by it being prohibited from being just a general legal process, business activity, with oversight and whatnot, when they pull the rug and say, oh no, it's illegal now, people still wanted sex. And still do. People still like some amount of intoxication. People still like to gamble. People like to drink alcohol. Well, you just turned it over to a criminal enterprise. When it was illegal, you made it just into criminal enterprise. And they provided it. They kept providing the alcohol. Al Capone and all the gangsters popped up from the stupidity, the religious-based stupidity of the prohibition on alcohol. They naturally came with it. You gave up the oversight, the control. Well, people still had an interest in access to drinking. And so, here comes somebody who's going to provide it because there's money to be made. And it came to gangsters, mobsters, drive-by killings, murder, payoffs, corruption of the police, the whole business. It was chaos. All to try and satisfy the ridiculous stupidity of denial that came from religion. This Dark Ages toga and sandals crowd. Well, finally you woke up, and so you got rid of the prohibition of alcohol. It's now legal, oversight, age access controls the whole business. You got got rid of the stupidity of also then another one, gambling. Now you have casinos, you have gambling access, and a number of states throughout the country in the U.S., they rely on a lot of their state income, their revenue, to come from casinos, gambling. And all that requires is oversight, age access controls, the usual stuff of a business. They pulled the rug out from billions of dollars going to criminal enterprise. Now there's 2 more to go before you come into the intelligence of the 21st century. You got to legalize drugs and you got to legalize prostitution. And then you'll have finally can say you woke up. You've thrown off the ridiculous veil and mask and tolerance and repression of religion, stupidity. And you've faced the reality of humans. And you have oversight. You have Ajax's controls. You set audits and review, but it's always going to be legalized. And, of course, you get tax revenue and whatnot along with it. The key part is you've thrown out the ignorance of repression, of denial. It was this religious attitude. And you've come to the more important thing of responsibility, inherent in having these, all of them, available to you. And we've pulled the rug out, finally, from billions and billions and billions of dollars going year after year to criminal enterprise. What keeps gangs going? They get the black market of drugs and prostitution. And it's such a moneymaker. It's such a huge billion-dollar enterprise. It has corroded and corrupted every country from Mexico south because it is of America's stupidity of clinging on to the failure and fraud of the Nixon war on drugs. When the attitude really is based upon religious myth. But it's, yes, we got to say, Nixon's war on drugs, yes. And, a lot of this was already in place before Nixon came along, but he exacerbated it and made it ridiculous. Created this whole disaster called the DEA. It hasn't done anything. It's not accomplished a single one of its stated goals. Yet it's cost you, taxpayer money, in the billions each year to keep this failure of the DEA going. And we've seen that the DEA and the CIA were involved in drug trafficking anyway, because they were using it as a slush fund money to use for their activities anyway, and for just how corrosive and corrupting it is as being illegal. So you really got, if you face the facts, you look at it and say, there's Bush Sr., drug peddler. There's Ron Reagan and Bush Sr. doing their cocaine trafficking, President of the United States, in the Iran-Contra scam. You see the CIA and DEA being involved in drug trafficking. You see criminal gangs from Mexico South that have infiltrated the whole society, government, police, military, because they're the only game in town that consistently makes massive amounts of tax-free cash and offers employment when otherwise there isn't much going on. So a gang attitude of, aggressive and violence and whatnot has permeated throughout the Latin American countries, and it's kept in place because there's the stupidity of America's war on drugs, prohibition. And the same with prostitution too. Once we legalize prostitution, you've pulled the rug out from all that profits, but you also got rid of a lot of sex trafficking. Sex slavery, violence, abuse. We have oversight. We set up the standards, age access controls. We set up sanitation, healthcare. It all goes along with it, but it's legalized. A business enterprise. You got 2 of them down out of the 4. You got alcohol. You woke up there. You should have just, by waking up to get rid of alcohol prohibition, got rid of all the rest of them. But America wasn't, intelligently very bright back then. And you now gradually took years after the legalization of alcohol, you now have legalized gambling. And gradually, through the efforts of you, not legislatures, you have demanded and have seen the legalization of cannabis, marijuana. And you've seen the impact that it has made. It's provided jobs, economic development in the state, employment, and diversified economic development into plumbers and electricians and builders and on and on. Well, the same will happen when we fully legalize drugs and we fully legalize prostitution. We'll have the oversight. We'll set the controls. We'll have the age access. We'll set the parameters. And where will criminal enterprise, where will gangs get their money? Where will police be able to continue with their harassment, terrorism against you? That was all justified because, drugs. See, it's gone. There's a benefit to all of us to legalize. We got 2 of them down. You got 2 more to go. To say we finally have awakened to human reality and intelligence.